brings to an end the final results of the local government election 2021. And I think what this is going to be remembered for is a historic milestone in South Africa's democracy, because for the very first time, the ANC has fallen below 50%. It now very clearly says that the political landscape has shifted and that it is possible to bring the ANC below 50% across the length and breadth of South Africa. It is very, very significant. It is a project that the DA has been working towards for many, many years, and it is very heartening to see that these democratic elections have rendered this particular result. In terms of the DA, we're particularly buoyed by the result. We believe it's a consolidation, and the fact that the DA has turned a corner in terms of where we were at and where we need to be, and it gives us a solid foundation to start to build towards the 2024 election, with the ultimate game to bring the ANC below 50% across the length and breadth of South Africa. We've also heard the message that's been sent to us by communities across the length and breadth of South Africa. One of those clear messages that's been sent is that people don't like unstable coalitions. They don't like coalitions that are topsy-turvy and that don't deliver. And I think that's the message that's been sent in places like Tshwane, Nelson Mandela Bay, and in the city of Johannesburg. And voters have spoken in that regard. In that regard, we will be certainly looking to create stable coalitions. Those processes have already started, and we look forward to being able to form stable coalitions where we can. Where we cannot, we're going to go onto the opposition benches and be an excellent opposition, just like we are in the National Assembly and have been in other councils across the country. So we leave election 2021 buoyed by the result. I think it's a respectable result, and one which allows us to be able to now start the big battle, which is marching confidently to 2024 to unseat the ANC at a national and provincial level and be able to bring the change that South Africa so desperately needs by shoving off the yoke of ANC one-party domination. The other message that's been received very, very loudly and clearly is the one that any proportional representation system will ultimately deliver, and that is that there will be coalitions, that one-party domination is coming to a swift end across the length and breadth of South Africa, and we need to be able to take advantage of that going into the next election. So the road to 2024 starts today. We commit ourselves to being part of a new majority in South Africa that's going to be able to start building towards a better future for South Africa, a more inclusive future for South Africa, one with a growing economy, one that's creating jobs, and one that's serving the people of the country and not the politicians. That's the principles we commit the DA to, and that's certainly what the focus will be over the coming months as we head into the next election. We also won't be getting into knee-jerk, short-term decisions. What we will be doing is keeping a very close eye on 2024 and what the actions that we take today are going to do to be able to bolster that project in 2024 to bring the ANC below 50% at a national and provincial level, and hopefully greater numbers than we've seen in this particular election. Thanks very much.
Could you also just outline what the process around coalitions is going to be?
Sure.
And what the conditions are going to be?
So what we've done is, over the course of the last day, our team at the Sheraton has been crunching the numbers, has put the numbers into a number of matrices, and that has kicked up some likely coalitions where we can have the most stable results. We've started already to reach out to potential partners in those, and we obviously hope to solidify those particular talks in the coming days, and hopefully by the end of the weekend we'll be able to start making announcements around where we have been able to form stable coalitions with a focus on the best interests of the people in those particular municipalities, but also in the long-term interest of those municipalities in terms of stability and delivery. We do intend to publish publicly every single coalition agreement that we go into, and we will make it available not only to the media, but also to the residents in those particular municipalities who are going to obviously be part of it. We've got a preamble which sets out very clearly the values and principles that will be embodied in there. They focus on service delivery, they focus on accountability and transparency, they focus on fairness, and they focus on ensuring that we have capable municipal administrations appointed on merit, not on as a result of cadre deployment. And those will certainly be the foundational principles of that particular coalition agreement. Thank you.
Have you ruled out the ANC in coalitions?
Yes, we have. I think it's going to be very difficult to do coalitions with the ANC in places like Tshwane, in Joburg and Ekurhuleni, because they are the architects of the reason that those municipalities find themselves in the situation that they do at the moment.
You'd rather be in opposition?
Well, we'll try and put together opposition coalitions. If those don't work, we will take up our seats on the opposition benches and be an excellent opposition and work towards the bigger project in 2024 of bringing the ANC below 50%.
Mr. Steenhuisen, it's Natasha Perry here from SABC News. You just said that you've reached out to a couple of political parties. Can you tell us who those political parties are? Furthermore, just please confirm whether your former leader, Mr. Tony Leon, will form part of those coalition talks. I know yesterday you've indicated it'll be yourself and the Federal Council Chairperson, Helen Zille.
Thank you very much. I don't want to get into the details because the coalition talks are at a very early stage yet. We will obviously hope to be able to make an announcement later this week, or certainly by the weekend. Mr. Tony Leon is not leading the coalition talks. I don't know where that has come from. I and Helen Zille and Ivan Meyer will be leading the coalition talks. We have obviously pulled in expertise from across the party and people who've been involved in putting coalitions together in the past to come and give some guidance and advice. But certainly the only people leading coalitions will be myself, Helen Zille and Dr. Ivan Meyer as the elected leadership of the party, and then at a provincial level, the provincial leaders and chairpersons of the various provinces. They will be the only people authorized to interact with any other political party in terms of being able to reach out.
Are you confident that there will be coalitions in the metros where the DA is after this?
Well, I'm no doubt that there will be coalitions. Whether they will be ANC-led coalitions or DA-led coalitions is the question that remains to be seen. But in nearly every single municipality, metro municipality, is now hung. It's also quite important to note that in 5 of the 9 provinces, the ANC is at 50% or below 50%. That is significant. That is a significant takeaway from this particular election. So I think that coalitions are going to be...
Do you see DA coalitions in the metros?
Well, if we can put them together with people who share the values and principles of the party, we will attempt to do so. But as I said, I'm not going to go into government and be part of a government that's going to govern badly and not govern according to our values and principles, because you end up undermining then your opportunity to build on your brand and be able to act and serve the people of that particular community. There's only one thing worse than losing an election, that's being part of a government that governs badly. And I think that's a lesson we've learned in the metros in the last election. People don't like the instability that comes with unstable coalitions. And that's why stability, consolidation is going to be the order of the day.
John, what will you say are the lessons from your failed coalitions, and will you admit that the notion that you were arrogant in those coalitions?
Well, I don't know who's made those notions, but we've had good relationships with people that we've been in coalition with, and I think that that will be reflected in the fact that we will go into coalitions with those same people. What are the lessons? Well, don't do coalitions with people who don't share your values and principles. That's how you end up in a situation where you're giving fleet tenders to people. That's how you end up in a situation where you're appointing municipal officials because they know somebody, not what they know. And that's how you end up losing the trust of people when you don't follow through on your own values and principles in a coalition. That's the big lesson of the last 5 years, I think.
John, do you think that the gap in Tshwane is quite wide this time around? Do you think you can survive without the ANC and also the EFF in those coalitions? Because the difference right now is almost like 10% than the last time. Do you think you can survive?
Well, we will look at seeing what we can do. If we can't put together an opposition coalition, we will take up our seat on the opposition benches and be an official opposition that serves the best interests of those of that community, and we will go into those opposition benches with the benefit of having been in government, knowing exactly what the budgets are, knowing exactly where the strengths and weaknesses of that municipality lie, and we will continue our program of action then from the opposition benches. Of course, we'd like to retain governments in Tshwane, and if we can make it work in a stable way, we will do so. But minority governments, we've learnt over the last 5 years, are no way to live in a coalition. You can't be living from council meeting to council meeting, and you can't be living in an environment where people sit around a table and agree on one thing and then come to the council meeting and do something completely different. That is no way to govern, and I think the people have expressed themselves in their dissatisfaction around those types of arrangements in this election.
Cool. Thank you
Anybody
very
else?
much, colleagues.
Great.
Just one last one
Sure.
from me. The DA stance on the EFF coalition that you would not
Vale,
enter
bonus.
into it this time around.
But
Is it
it's
still
shame
the
you
same?
shouldn't
Absolutely. It was a commitment we made to the voters before the election. We cannot go into a coalition with people who don't share our core values and principles. What are those core values and principles? Non-racialism, respect for the rule of law and the Constitution, a social market economy that treats business as a partner in growth and job creation, and a capable state without cadre deployment. The EFF fail on all four of those.
Looking at the numbers in China, how confident are you that you would be able to lead a coalition in terms of all the, when EFF is excluded?
Well, we will look at the numbers. If we can't do it, we can't do it, and we'll go and be in opposition. But I'm certainly not going to row back and jump into bed with the EFF just to try and form a government. That's what you call short-termism. It's not making a decision with a focus on the future. I would rather be an excellent opposition there and serve the residents of Tshwane well from the opposition benches than being part of a compromised government where people are only interested in rent seeking, only interested in extraction, and have got no interest whatsoever in service delivery and advancing the cause of the people in that municipality.
I'm sure you were asked on your comments in terms of the results. Maybe I missed that. Can you please just give us a recap in terms of the DA's comments in the results?
Yeah, well, look, I think it's been a respectable result for the DA. I think that we've consolidated, certainly since the last election. Obviously, we would like to have won in more places, but that's not happened. And I think the results have buoyed us, but they've also given us some pause for thought. There are some areas where we need to look very, very carefully about how the DA's campaigned, what our structures are like there, what message of voters sent there. So we're not going to be arrogant about the results. We're going to go and introspect there where we haven't done well and focus on improving those areas and making sure that we regain trust of people in those places and that we go into the next election on a footing where they have a restored trust in the DA.
Just last one for me. In terms of Tshwane, you losing support there. What are some of the reasons attributed to this?
Well, I've just spoken about it in the conference here. People don't like unstable coalitions. We've had a really difficult time in Tshwane. We haven't been able to deliver as much as we would have liked because we've had an unstable internal arrangement where we're living from council meeting to council meeting. You can't put budgets together. You can't do IDPs. You can't put your program of action to full gear because you've got a minority government. Added to that, we've had the provincial government on the back of that administration right from the beginning, trying to undermine it, trying to take it over, trying to do through the provincial government what they weren't able to do through the ballot box. You may recall we spent a number of months under an illegal administration by the provincial government. We had to go to the courts to get that overturned. The Constitutional Court has confirmed our position that it was illegal and unauthorized. But it set us back significantly because the surplus we had built up before we went under the provincial administration, when we got back into office, it had been completely wiped out again and we were sitting with a deficit. So we had to start all the way from the beginning again because the administrators had misappropriated the money, misspent it, and left us with a deficit. So we were really up against it with the provincial government on our back. Instead of supporting Tshwane to be able to succeed, they were doing nothing other than try and undermine Tshwane's ability to deliver.
Sorry, what's your response to the EFF's today's statement that DA is a racist party? Because
there's only one racist party in South Africa, and that's the EFF. We believe in non-racialism. They are race warriors of epic proportions. Hello.